Well, it's already April and time for another look at the month ahead. It does seem like quite a busy month on the political scene. And while some of that, of course, has to do with our international relations, our deteriorating relationship with the United States, but more importantly, it's the budget and the rattling of the GNU that's going on, and of course, the consequent parliamentary debates on that budget as well. It does look like a lot of energy is focused around parliament and government during this month, and it does look very threatening to the GNU. It is astrologically threatening enough to be concerned, but it also shows that a lot of what is going on is also what we don't see. That's normal for governments, very normal for this government. And so there are other things and other ways that things happen that also lead to resolutions. And although I'd agree that the GNU looks very shaky with this chart, it also looks like it can survive. However, there's a lot of energy in the parliamentary sphere. We know that the ANC is trying to talk to other political parties to get its budget passed, and we know that it's refusing to compromise. And it's very clear from the chart that I would think that the ANC doesn't really understand that it's in a coalition. That it really, as everyone knows, it sees itself still as the one and only government. And there is that very narrow, it's not even quite the word narrow, it's this arrogant me approach that we're seeing in South Africa's chart at the moment with respect to the government and with respect to the president. So they're clearly more really concerned. President is more concerned about himself and his government than he really is about the country, which might already be evident to a lot of people when it comes to the reasons why VAT is being raised. Take money from the poor to pay civil servants. Doesn't need to say much more than that. Okay, so Parliament should be fun at the very least, and it might be instructive to tune in and check out what's happening there. But it looks like we will just scrape through it in terms of the GNU. In terms of the budget, it still looks very shaky. Whether or not they pass that budget, I can't be sure. But what I can be sure of, either way, things look a little bit rocky economically over the next month. That might have to do with the international relations situation as well. We know that the Trump government's autocratic actions are really affecting economies around the world, and certainly ours as well. Plus their personal beef as with us as they try and make apartheid great again. So obviously that kind of struggle is going to be evident in our economic situation, and it is very, very much so. So we need to kind of hang on to our hats with that one. Exchange rate might struggle a little bit during the course of this month. Well, price is going up. Maybe that is the VAT 0.5% being approved because it looks like things are getting more expensive and everything is looking a little bit shaky on the financial frontier. But although we can see still huge issues with international relations, we can still see the kind of the the diplomatic war, which presumably is referring to the United States. We can also see that partly in terms of them and in terms of other allies, South Africa moves into an increasingly strong position. Perhaps because, the, I guess, unintended effect of Trump's actions by himself is that it's causing various other realignments in the world. And, realignment with respect to BRICS was something that already threatened American dominance even before Trump came in. So now it's having this knock-on effect of increased outside of America, realignment and allies. South Africa is in a good position to benefit from that, both from BRICS and from Europe. And that's what shows in South Africa's chart, that with respect to allies and some of our foreign affairs, we are actually in a very strong position. However, with respect to the one that we have the diplomatic war with, which we all know that would be the United States, that continues to be destructive and expensive. It's a tense, fraught situation, but for the most part, it does look like we can soldier our way through it and fumble our way through it. We all seem to be doing a bit of a mixture of both of those. But the government does come out standing. So for now, that's probably one of the better things that we can expect. The opposition is looking more belligerent and aggressive than ever in this chart. And if they are allowed in via the budget, then we do actually have some concerns economically. And as I say, the biggest concern in this chart is actually economic over the next month. The various things that can affect it include EFF or MK being brought in to help the ANC push its budget through, having a very strong negative effect on our economy. So April looks like it's a hang onto your hats month. We need to all kind of grit our teeth and be strong and be aware that we are part of a larger world. The whole world is being rocked by various sources, including Trump, but not exclusively Trump's actions around the world. And we're in a phase in the world lasting all the way to the end of next year at the earliest, where there's a lot of change and rebuilding and restructuring of many things that started back in 2020 at the beginning of the COVID era. So we're at one of the peak points of that, hence the holding onto our hats while society and the world is gradually reorienting itself. It's does so through economic crisis, through war, through autocracy, and we know that there can be very negative effects of all of those things. And that's why best we can say right now is hang on to your hats and hang on to the hope. South Africa is in this uniquely, unexpectedly strong position by default. And hopefully that's going to get us through until we see what's happening in May. Actually, let's rather just see what's happening with our own horoscopes and stop worrying about all of that. Aries, it looks like a go out and get 'em month for you. At least that's what you're going to be feeling like, and that's what you're going to be doing. Whether you actually do get 'em is a slightly different story. So you do need to temper yourself a little bit and not act so rashly. How do you tell an Aries not to act so rashly? I still haven't figured that one out because often it doesn't feel like rash. It feels like enthusiasm and it feels like excitement and it feels like the necessary next step. And let's face it, most of the time it has good outcomes. So if you bump your head a few times, that's not the end of the world. But this time, the head bumping can be financial. So you are cautioned not to spend rashly, not to kind of burn a hole in your own pocket, and actually take the opportunity of this month to sort out financial affairs. There definitely can be some positives. It's still a very good month for pursuing goals that will lead to financial benefits. So the point is, don't undermine that by the spending or the recklessness or anything else. Just try and be more focused in that go out and get them. Go out and get them strategically and make sure it doesn't cost you anything. Then you'll get them. Taurus, on the other hand, this is a kind of lay low a bit month for you. It's not a great time to expect things to be readily fulfilled in terms of goals, in terms of your ideals, and so on. But laying low and lowering your expectations doesn't mean sit around and do nothing or be disappointed. On the contrary, it's a time for re strategizing and also for kind of thinking out of the box. In fact, I think that's the big message of the Taurus chart this month is that it's time to think a little differently, think out of the box, and to put another word on it, it's time to think courageously. Acting courageously might still take another month, but thinking courageously, making plans that are really going to change how things have been done before, that's what this is really all about for you. You can also work on your spiritual life, on your personal life. This is a great time to catch up with some of the self-care and things that you need to do for yourself to strengthen yourself for next month when you can actually pursue some of these great new ideas that you're developing right now. Gemini, it is all happening for you. You can go and get it. You can have big ideas. You can even spend your money. Everything that everyone else can't really do this month works for you. So this is the time to make the most of it while you can. The most important one of those, though, is also to develop new goals and ideals. And also be careful that you're not thinking too big. you need to just perhaps bring yourself down to earth and be a little bit realistic about some important goals, or more specifically, about things that are happening in your personal life. It's great. It's a great time for fun, for friendship, for all of those kind of happy social things. But in your close one-to-one relationships, you need to be a little bit more careful. Don't rush into anything. Don't blow something up into something much bigger inside your mind. Rather, just focus on what is going on one step at a time. Make sure you're enjoying yourself and benefiting from the good month that Gemini is in. And then goals, relationships, even money, everything shows growth by the end of the month. Cancerians, some of that financial wobble is affecting you. So this is a great time to kind of build your resources. Be careful not to be spending too much. It's really just a phase that your finances are going through. But it's one that you can control because it's related more to spending than it is to earning. So just controlling that's what makes the very big difference. Personal life is also very important right now, Cancerians, and it does look like you also need to watch out for acting in haste or acting with too much caution. Certainly, you need a certain amount of freedom right now, and you need to perhaps renegotiate some of the things that are happening in your relationships, from getting more freedom, just also to making sure that you're more able to follow your own goals, spend your own time, do those kind of things that bring a better balance between own needs and relationship needs at this particular time. For new relationships, even for pending relationships, be careful about rushing into things. Freedom is much more important at this time, and so is fun. The pleasures and the social pleasures and the friendship side of relationship is where you're really going to grow if you focus your energies there. Classic Cancerians warning: jealousy and acting on jealousy is a great threat at the moment. You've got Mars in your sign and it can stir things up. So lay low, don't act on those impulses. Everything will be better by next month. Leos, you can also do some laying low this month, but of the nice kind. Time to maybe relax, you have a bit of a break, not necessarily go off on a big holiday. If you can do that, that'll be great. But it's just like you need some lower energy at this particular time, or perhaps more energy focused around just one thing rather than all the things that you might be involved with at this time. It's a good month for regrouping yourself, pulling your energy back together, getting your forces back in order. There's a great balance at the moment between what you need and what you want, and what you think and what you feel, and all these natural kind of dichotomies that exist with us. And this is a great time to take advantage of those. Spending time with yourself, journaling, just reconnecting with that inner self that is so attuned at this time. And then doing what it wants. Your inner voice is trying to tell you, this is what I need. You are right at this time. You're tuned into your needs and your desires are working in the right way with each other. So this is the month that you can do something about that. If you have big goals and new goals, it is still great to pursue those, but just be a little bit more narrow in your focus. Don't try and do everything at the same time. You're supposed to be creating new ways of doing things. Virgo, it does look like there's quite a lot on your plate as usual, and it's all very much kind of at home, home-based kind of stuff. Not just about the home, but that is something, but also staying where you need to be, not moving around too much because there's a lot that needs to get done. And it's not just chores getting done. This is a time where some important tasks, some important goals, some important long-term plans, whatever they may be, all of them can really benefit at this particular time. So it's like you've got to put your shoulder to the wheel and make it happen, because this is one of those times when it can all happen for you. There's some big ideals that you can pursue, but you're going to have to be strong and determined. There are some, whether they're bureaucratic obstacles or other people dragging their heels, there's something like that going on. You're just going to have to power through it. You might have to be a bit more forceful than usual. You might have to be a little bit more kind of selfish seeming than usual, but this is definitely the time for you to do that. There are also people around you who are really hearing you. And what you will have to do, though, is to kind of discipline them and maybe rope their energy a little bit, who can really help you because they are willing. There's help coming from willing people. You're just going to have to put a little bit of the squeeze on them to make it happen. But happen it will, and those goals get fulfilled. Libra, you are going to have to be kind to yourself this month because it's going to be really hard to get things done. Whether you're just being lazy, or more likely, whether that's, there's so many things, little things going on, and time is frittering away, and nothing quite gets done properly. You're just going to have to shrug, laugh it off, breathe, and be gentle with yourself because it's just one of those months. Like lots of things start, but lots of things are not finishing. So, what you can try and do is minimize the things on your plate and try and concentrate slowly but surely on what you can finish, but not freaking yourself out with things that don't finish. See it as just a kind of a sorting month where you're just sorting out, finding out what's really useful at the moment. However, what is working and what is useful is your more creative, fun loving, sporting, romantic kind of side. That very Libran kind of fun loving side is very much responsive to fun at this time. So you're going to have to put yourself into that situation. Take some time out for yourself. Don't let the small stuff make you sweat, and you'll be much better off next month. Scorpio could be a bit of a challenging month in terms of your energy levels. You're going to have to give yourself a little bit of a break, maybe just to start. And then during the month, be more focused and take it slow. If you have not been paying attention to your own health, that's going to suffer from energy levels. If you're not asserting yourself in your world, that's also going to suffer. So it's also a time to kind of bring yourself back to yourself. Be very careful of allowing other people to drain you and getting caught up into their stuff, because a lot of the threat or challenge to your energy level is really because a lot of your energy is being used for things that are not your goals and are not your focus at the moment. You need to be more focused because it's also a bit of a financially challenging month. And so you need to make sure your energies are in place to do what you need to do for you. It's a be more selfish kind of a month. But if you just rope in your energies, take a measured, slow, but sure approach, say no. And that's what the being more selfish is about. It's about saying no, focusing on what you've got to do for you. That's all going to make everything else work much more successfully. Focus on your own tasks, and you actually end up getting a lot done despite the low energy. Sagittarius, the famously freedom loving sign, you are going to be wanting it more than ever this month. But this is not quite the time to be rushing off and doing your own thing. It looks like relationships are really important right now, and that's all relationships. Your important one to one relationships, romantic relationships, your friendships, everything really is in a position to feed you. And actually, right now, you've got so much on your plate that seems to be what you want right now. You need lots of stimulation, you need lots of things feeding you, which is great. In terms of work and everything like that, it's going to work for you. I mean, too many things on the plate is always a little bit iffy, and maybe you need to discipline yourself around that. But for the most part, that's going to work. It's in relationships that you just need to be a bit more focused. Your reactions are big. People might not know what to do with that. You just need to maybe lighten up a little bit. You are a fun loving sign. Share in the fun. That's really a great way to make relationships really powerful and bonded. Share the fun, let off steam, but be aware that your overreactions also need to be played down a little bit, laugh it off, make sure that you're building those relationships and that they can understand you. Then it's all going to be great. Capricorn, this looks like a month where you might be relying on others. And while that would be harmless for most people, it's the last thing that Capricorns ever want to do. So, Capricorn, that's going to be your lesson for the month, is that you're going to have to be okay with relying on others, and it's going to turn out worthwhile. It's kind of self-reinforcing because there are things that others have right now that will benefit you, that you actually need. There can be direct resources, things that you don't have access to yourself that you can gain access to. It might just be that you need help from others right now, and this is the time to take it because, given that, it looks like it's also a great month where you can really achieve some things. This is a good month for slow but sure progress. In terms of professional things, you're going to have to take on some responsibilities and some commitments that help with that progress. But again, that's not going to work very well unless you get the help and support from others. So it's a little bit like in order to do the bigger tasks that you need to do this month, the ones that are really important, you're going to be needing help from others. That's why you want to do it. That sounds like a good motivation. Go out and get it. Aquarius, like your Capricorn cousins, this also looks like a good time for making progress by taking more responsibility or by being given more responsibility, even if it's not something you chose to take. So, this is a time where you really need to change all your sources in some way. It looks like you actually need to look further afield, look far and wide. There needs to be different input for you right now, different people, different resources. Those things are going to enable you to make progress in some important goals. That will also mean changing some existing relationships. Actually, I mean, don't be too surprised if some of those relationships change on their own. People that you've known for some time suddenly disappearing from your life, people that you haven't seen for ages suddenly reappearing in your life. Be sanguine about it all. There's new sources of everything coming to you, and that's going to enable you to really fulfill some important goals and deal with these new responsibilities or just responsibilities that have arrived on your door. It's now time to kind of step up to the plate. It's perfect timing because you're able. Just be willing to make those changes. Pisces, while everyone else is scrambling around looking for resources, you are in a position to have everything that you need available to you. There's nothing you need from anyone right now. Not resources, not help, nothing. Which doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen. On the contrary, it means what are we waiting for? It's all up to you. Everything you need is on your plate in front of you. Problem is, you're distracted by all sorts of things at this particular time, and the seeming excuse or good reasoning seems to be that there's restrictions or timing problems. And it's like, well, I've just got to wait until X, Y, or Z, and then I can get this done. No, Pisces, this is time to take a whole new strategy. While there are some obstacles, obstacles or responsibilities or things like that that seem to be standing in your way, once you understand that everything you need is in front of you at this moment, you can ask yourself, how do I make use of this that I have today with me right now? And taking that approach will make you extraordinarily successful by the end of the month. It's like you've only got yourself to blame if things are not working out. Don't blame the timing and the responsibilities, but you'll also have yourself to congratulate and to applaud and to celebrate because everything you need is right there. Just go out and do it.